Hello, everyone, and welcome to Touring the Devices screen in CWRMM within the ACO platform. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. Just want to go over a few things before we get started. You will notice there are several pods in GoToMeetings. We really only need to worry about two of them here, the chat panel and the questions panel. Any questions for the content, please put those into the question panel. That will allow me to aggregate those towards the end in our Q&A session, and we can keep track of them a little bit better. But go ahead and use the chat for getting to know one another, or if you have questions for other partners out there, or any other general chat, keep that in the chat. With us today to go over the devices screen in CWRMM is my man, the legend here, Mr. 12-year veteran Scott McQueenie.
Oh, stop, D-Bug. Thanks, bro. Hey, everybody. Great to see you today. Happy for you to join us on what may...
I forgot one little thing. We need to let them know this is being recorded as well, so you can watch it again later.
Indeed.
We may go through a lot of material today very quickly, so you may rehash on that later in the university.
Exactly. All of our webinars are available in our university in our video library, typically a few days after the presentation. So you'll be able to find this one there. Happy to be able to talk to you guys today about the devices screen in ConnectWise RMM. This may be our first webinar on ConnectWise RMM. I'm not sure if we've done one before, but certainly my first webinar on ConnectWise RMM. It's always exciting to learn about a new product and be able to get you guys excited about a new product and let you know what you can do, show you around a little bit. So without any further ado, let's jump right in. We're going to do this. We're going to do the thing where we talk through the thing while we're doing the thing. You're seeing my screen. Okay, there we go. Look at that. It's like magic. All right. What we're going to start talking about today is our devices list. This is the place you land when you log into the product. We're going to talk about locating devices, and then we're going to dive right into the device detail screen. From there, we're going to talk a little bit about running tasks and also logging in with ConnectWise Control. All of these things around the devices screen, the devices list. Hopefully, you're going to come away from this learning a little bit more and feeling more confident about how to navigate your way around in there and what's available to you. Let's dive right in, shall we? Starting with the devices list. When you log into ConnectWise RMM, this is your landing page. You come in here and this is all the devices available to you. You can see I do not have an overabundance of devices in our environment, but for you guys, you may have thousands of devices in here. So this is your one-stop shop for me to find devices, get into the device screen. I can also take some actions right from this device list as well. Over here on the left-hand side, we're going to start with these little checkboxes right over here. These are going to allow you to select the devices upon which you want to take action for stuff above this, above that list. You can see I've got the run box and I've got the manage box. We're going to talk more about them in just a minute, but when I select these checkboxes here on the left, that's going to decide which of the devices am I running a task against or managing when I click on those drop downs. Other stuff you can see here on the screen is my online indicator. Green indicates online, gray, blackish. I mean, I feel like that's more grayish, is indicating it's offline. You can see when it was last online. What's the criteria for offline? We have a question from the audience here asking, what is the criteria for offline? I'm so glad you asked. The ConnectWise RMM agent pretty much checks in about every 10 seconds. It touches base with the server about every 10 seconds. If we miss 10 consecutive heartbeat touches like that, so if we are not checked in for 100 seconds, that's the criteria for indicating that the device is offline. All right, we haven't heard from this one for 100 seconds. It's dead to me for now. You're offline. But if we catch any one of those 10 consecutive heartbeats in a row, oh, we got to 9, but it checked in, it's cool, we're still online. Also from here, I've got the friendly name column. This is particularly useful. If you look down further in my list here, I've got things that say stuff like, you know, Well, obviously you guys are familiar with whatever your naming conventions is for your computers, and that's not very helpful for me to know. All right, I'm trying to find so-and-so's computer. So in this devices list, when I hover over the friendly name there, my little pencil appears like you see on the screen. When the pencil appears, I click on it, and now I get to change that name. This is the situation where you guys will probably develop some sort of process in-house to say, all right, when you're wanting to use a friendly name, let's come up with a naming convention for everybody to indicate how we use our friendly names. I typically would be inclined to think, all right, this is so-and-so's computer. Maybe you're going to come up with a different criteria, but I can use the friendly name in this devices list, edit it, and then that name is probably going to be a little more intuitive to any of my technicians who come into this device list and are trying to find a specific computer. By the way, this is one of the things that through trial and error, mostly error on my part, but my fantastic co-presenter here, Debak, he found out for me the way I can edit this friendly name is actually from this devices list. I was poking around in the device details screen, which we're going to go into next, and I'm like, what on earth? I can't find how to edit the friendly name. Lo and behold, you actually edit the friendly name right here from the list. So click on the pencil, make your changes. Now we've got a more intuitive name for it. Moving right along, we're just kind of moving left to right, looking at some of the columns in this device list here. I've got things where I'm going to be able to see, obviously, the type, server, desktop. I've got my login column. My login column is going to give me ConnectWise control access. In a case like this, when I find the device in the list view, I don't need to click into the device details screen to perform my ConnectWise control actions. I can simply click on the login icon in the column as you see there, and it gives me these choices. Do I just want to pop in for ConnectWise control to take access, or do I want to use the dashboard or backstage? I can do those right from the list view. I've also got my last user column. The gray-black indicates nobody is currently logged in, and when you hover over it, like you can see, it shows me when was the last login and who that last user was. The green icon there indicates that it is currently logged in, meaning the last user session is still active. Real useful information if I am trying to fix an issue and I want to pop into the machine. Oh, there's somebody currently logged in. All right, I don't want to just take control. I'm going to handle it differently. If I'm coming to another machine and I see that nobody's currently logged in, maybe I feel free to pop right in on control, fix the issue, and let them know what was done and move on. I got a little bit more information over here on the general tab. Again, I'm still moving farther from left to right. And like I said, these are all on the general tab from my devices list. You can see I've got things like the site name, really useful, right? I want to find out which site this computer is a member of. I can see information like the operating system. If there were tickets that were going to show up for me in my critical tickets column, well, if there were critical tickets, they would show up in this column. And then there's another little useful tidbit over there in that right-hand column, which is my endpoint protection. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. I've got an example to show you where that's going to be particularly useful for me in this demonstration. So that was my general tab. Well, still on my device list, I have an OS patching tab. This OS patching tab is going to be particularly useful to show me information that is relevant to OS patching on this device. I'm certainly going to be able to see stuff like what flavor of operating system is it, and then my compliance column. This compliance column is showing me the compliance score, which roughly speaking is a percentage of policy patches that are installed. The way you control how OS patching is handled is through an OS patching policy. That policy is going to say, I want to install this type of patch. I do not want to install this type of patch. The policy dictates automatically install these. That compliance score had previously been strictly just the percentage of how many policy patches were installed. We've actually only recently updated that to make that algorithm a little bit more complex. It takes into account things like blocked patches and machines that need reboot and one or two other factors. I've been shown what the new algorithm is. I've had it explained to me with words, and I still don't understand it. It's a little complicated. I'm not a developer, but just to let you know, that's what my compliance score is. It's basically the number of policy patches that have been installed with a little more granularity and complexity that has been added now to make allowances for blocked patches, pending reboot, etc. That last column over there on the right for application updates, I can click on that for the drop down there. And if I want to assign a task for third-party patching, I'll do that right here. Pretty straightforward. Still in my devices list again now. This is where I check the checkbox to the left of that device so that when I click on the run box at the top, that's going to allow me to run a task on it. I told you we would talk a little bit more about that last column over there for endpoint protection, and this is one where I've got a device upon which I have no endpoint protection. Oh, that's no good. I don't want an unprotected device out there. What I can do is select that bad boy and click run in the top left, and you can see these are my tasks. These automation tasks ship built into ConnectWise RMM. These are created by us and managed by us. You can see I've got many different categories, obviously like application that I have selected here, maintenance, management, patching, security, etc. And even down below that, I've got a few other options for like a bash script and a command shell, etc. These are different tasks that are going to allow you to quickly and easily take action against these machines. We're going to talk a little bit more about them when we get into the device detail screen. For this example, I've got the device selected in my devices list with the checkbox. I click on run task up there. I've chosen application and I choose WebRoot install. Now this is going to install WebRoot on this device and it will no longer be unprotected. Quickly and easily right from the list view. So this list view, this device list is not only where I find my devices, it's not only informative, I can take action from here. I've already shown you that I can use login to take ConnectWise control. I can take remote control access or use my other ConnectWise control functions from there. I can also able to use this run task. I didn't have to go into the computer. I didn't have to do anything. Let me select this bad boy. Let's get some AV on there because the device list told me it didn't have any endpoint protection and we're good. Still, another thing I can do from this device list is I can send the end user a message. I'm using the same method there. I put a check in the checkbox and then I click on manage and send message. This is going to pop up this box. This is a message that I want to send to the end user. This is going to let me send them a notification. I obviously just chose test messenger, but maybe it's going to be something like, hi, I'm your technician and I'm ready to work on this issue. Is this a good time for me to remote in? When I send test message like that, I click send. This is what they get on their end. Really important note here. They need to have the communicator installed. I know that a lot of our partners who are coming from the command side have a lot of experience with this communicator. There's a lot of functionality built in there. It offers you a lot of other options beyond just sending a message like this. But I know that a lot of our command partners have relied upon that heavily and leveraged it very often. So for anybody coming from the Automate side, this is a communicator functionality. It just lives in the tray area and it's going to give me the ability to interact with them. It's really commonly used and it's something that we recommend that you always have in place on these machines. Let's have the communicator there for this exact reason. This gives me the ability to interact with them and let them know, all right, I took some action. I tried to fix your problem. I'd like to remote in now, right? So if I've got communicator enabled, right from my list view, select the device, manage, send the message, and I'm interacting with them right there. Still on my devices list, I've got a right-hand menu there. Currently, the one I've got highlighted here is recent tasks. This is sort of a one-stop shop. I'm in ConnectWise RMM. By clicking this recent tasks list over here on the right, I'm able to see recent tasks that have run against any computer in my environment. Any of my devices, any of the recent tasks are on here. I can filter them. I can control how long of a list. You can see I've got last 90 days listed there at the top. I could change that as well. So it's really useful for me just to see what has gone on in my environment. Moving further down that list, I've got the device groups option over there, still on the right-hand menu. I click on device groups, it's going to take me right to the device groups window. So when we come into the product, we land on this device list, but if you go over to the left and click on devices instead of computers, you hit device groups, that's going to take you to device groups. Well, this is just a shortcut to take you right to that same screen. Moving further down that right menu, I've got my clones screen. This is really useful for that scenario when maybe a clone was made and an image was made of a machine that already had the ConnectWise RMM agent on it. That's going to show up like you see on the screen, and now I've got duplicates, and that gives me the opportunity to take action. Oh, this is actually just a machine I made an image of, and I'm using it in my test environment. It's not something that I need to be managed in ConnectWise RMM, so I'm fine with that, and I'll just leave it alone. Or if that's not the case, perhaps I did intend to make this another production machine, and I do need it managed by ConnectWise RMM. In a case like this clone screen is going to help you catch, oh yeah, I forgot. The agent was already on there when I imaged it, so now they're showing up twice. I just got to fix that. The fix is go to one of them, presumably the second one, right? The actual clone, not the one from which the clone was made, and uninstall the agent and reinstall it. Easy peasy, that fixes the problem. This is a great way for you to identify those discrepancies because they're going to show up as on billing as well. If it was that first case I described, that the clone isn't a production machine, it's not one that you need to be managed in ConnectWise RMM, then simply delete it and don't worry about it. But if it is, you're going to come here and you're going to uninstall, reinstall the agent. Now you don't have a clone anymore, and you've got two separate legit devices in the product. So that is my devices list. It's the landing page when you get into the product. A lot of functionality there. But what if I had like thousands of agents in there? That's really going to be a pain to trying to find the right one. Let's see how I can narrow that down. Let's talk about locating these devices. The term I was introduced to for this particular screen here in that search box was our AccuSearch. Our local news place on the cable station has AccuWeather. I wonder if they're related. I wonder if AccuWeather was the inspiration for AccuSearch. I don't know these things. Inquiring minds want to know. In the search field here, I'm going to be trying to find a device. When I've got thousands of devices in here, yeah, that could be a bit of a daunting task. So what I'm going to be looking for is a machine that I know in my environment where these screenshots were taken here. I know it's a member of Pizza HQ. But I don't remember the name of the computer. Once again, our naming convention probably has rhyme or reason to it, but they're not like, intuitive English names. I don't know what all those crazy server names mean. So I don't really know the name of it. I know it's a Pizza HQ, and I know it's running some flavor of Windows Server 2022. So all I did in that search box right up there at the top, I just typed in pizza, and here are my results for pizza. Anything that matches pizza. Oh, okay. I knew it was HQ. I'm going to select that. When I select that, you can see now it is showing up as one of my selections in that search field. And already my list of devices has been filtered to only that site because I picked the site. In that list here, you can see it's showing me sites. There are going to be other entries. There might be device. Maybe there's a device named that, right? So there could be devices, but I chose site. So it filtered it on site. It's showing that's already what's in my search field. And the list of devices is only devices that meet that criteria. I know it was some flavor of Windows 2022. So I just click right back in that search box and I start typing again. You can see it retained my original Pizza HQ site. Now it's showing me all the flavors that return a result that matches Windows. You can see in my previous search for Pizza it was showing me sites, and you can see in this search result it's showing me operating systems. Okay, cool. And I knew it was Server 2022. I'm going to pick that one. Now I filtered it down a little bit further. Now my search result is showing Windows Server 2022. It's showing that one more, which is Pizza Pete's HQ. I'm going to filter it down a step further even. In the previous two searches, I was typing right in my search box. Now we're going to click on the little filter icon just to the right of the search box there, and that brings up this window. You can see it retained the ones I already had filtered on, but in my filter list, I expanded device groups, and here's one that is for Deluge install. A little bit about that. I was coming up with an example that I wanted to be able to use for this presentation, and I had found a machine that had Deluge installed. The device groups showed up in here, but I didn't have a device group in here that was useful for me. So I actually made a custom device group to find machines that had Deluge because I knew I had a machine that had Deluge because I looked at the applications. Found a machine that had Deluge. Let me make a device group. Now a device group was easily made to find machines that had this application installed. Now I've got the device group in there. I come back here to this filter screen and it shows up in my device groups. And that is the machine that meets my criteria. So I was able to search a couple different times. I can search as many times as I want in that search box. And then I chose my filter because that allowed me to find machines within my device group and find the machine I was looking for. So this search functionality in the search box combined with filtering, extremely robust. It's going to make it pretty easy for you to find whichever machines you're looking for. Once we find the machine we're looking for, we're going to click on that name right there, and it's going to take me to my device details screen. The device details screen is where I'm one-stop shop for all the information available to me on this device. I land on the summary screen. You can see I'm able to see stuff at a glance in the upper right. I've got my green online indicator. If I had tickets, they would be showing up there in the upper right as well. My machine specs show here. I've got tickets and performance. I'm able to see performance for memory and for CPU usage right in that graph. In the performance graph, I've got the filter set to, or the I don't know, the retention, whatever we're going to call that drop down, set to the last hour. I click on that and there are more options available to me. So if I'm seeing a ticket, perhaps with someone reporting performance issues, maybe I'll go back for the last day or the last week, and I'm able to see more historical data about what the performance is like. There is more information if I scroll down here below the machine specs and the tickets and performance. You can see I've got network information there, and tickets would be right below the performance grid. And you can see right below there, mine says no tickets occurred in the last hour because my device doesn't have any tickets on it. So we're just moving right along, and we're going to pop over to that ticket screen. This shows tickets for this device. If I click on the ticket ID link, it's going to open up the ticket for me and allow me to work it. You can see with that ticket selected, I've got some details over on the right-hand side. This just shows me tickets for this device. The automation tab is showing me tasks that have run for this device. If you remember when we were looking in the device list over on the right menu, I had recent tasks as one of my choices. Recent tasks shows me recent tasks that have run against my entire device base. Anything in my environment is going to show up in that recent tasks list. Now that I'm inside the device detail screen and I'm on the automation tab of this device, of course, I'm only seeing recent tasks for this device. You see that I have the ability to filter based on the from and to for the date range. I could click on any of those tasks. I can see the status on the screen, success, failure, and if this device had any scheduled tasks, they're going to show right over there on the right-hand side for me. Moving right along, we end up on the OS patching screen. This is particularly useful where I'm able to see information like, what is the compliance score? Remember that compliance score, roughly speaking, is number of policy patches that have successfully been installed. Speaking of that, let's take a look further down at the bottom sort of grid, the bottom list. Notice how when I look at that bottom list where you can see the pointer and the drop down, it is set by default when you land on this page to policy patches. Policy patches, once again, is that I've created a policy for OS desktop or OS server for patching. I want to say automatically install this type of patch, something like a critical or high severity impact. But automatically don't install things like drivers. These are some examples of what I might put in my OS patching policy. Perhaps I need to locate a patch that I know is not a policy patch, but I still want to find it so I can take action. Clicking on the drop down like you see there is going to change my view at the bottom from policy patches to non-policy patches. All right, I know this one is outside of my policy, but I do need to take action on it. So I'll switch in my view and I'll go to non-policy patches, and maybe from there I can do something. What you see in the list view there, of course, is what is the status? Is it approved, blocked? You can see I have some under review. That's going to be for the knock. And then the status for whether it's installed or missing. Now up above, I'm able to see information like what was the last assessment for this device? The last assessed is just running an assessment on this device to assess its OS patching status. And we're literally assessing this data. What amongst its policy patches are approved, installed, not installed, missing, etc. Clicking on the drop down up there for quick patch actions, I've got a few choices. Reboot, run that patch, OS patch assessment. All right, if I see the last assessment was not since a couple days ago or yesterday, maybe I'll tell it to run OS patch assessment right now, because then maybe patch has been installed, but the assessment hasn't run again. Let me run a new patch assessment right now and take a look and see what I got. And of course, I can choose deploy missing OS patches right from that list as well. Those policies that I'm talking about can actually be seen on the next tab, which is my settings tab. Policies are used to manage a bunch of settings and deliver them to multiple machines. At the current time, policies are limited to OS patching desktop, OS patching server, and communicator. I know we're going to have another policy available soon, another policy type that is, that I think is going to be around remote access. We do have plans to build out the list of policy types even further in the future. Those are all going to show up here on the settings tab of the device. And what that allows me to do from here is I can see, well, look, you can see the list of policies, the communicator policies currently selected. That's set to no, but I was just talking to you and explaining the benefits of having the communicator policy in place. I was like, I don't want to have this machine out there without a communicator policy. So let me edit this one. That's going to take whatever policy I have selected and edit it. In this case, I will change communicator enabled, disabled, change that value from no to yes. And as soon as I do that, you can see that it automatically enables help desk chat. That's going to enable me to interact with the end user. I'm not sure why I came to this machine, but communicator was disabled. I probably need to figure out what's going on with my policies and get that fixed. But in the meantime, I need to fix it on this device right now. So I'll edit this policy. When I enable communicator on this device by editing this policy, I save that, and that's actually called a device override. So now you can see at the top right of that screen, I can remove the override because it's against the policy. Well, I don't want to remove it, but it shows up in my list. Since I've made an edit to the existing policy, you can notice my little device icon in the upper left has the red dot on it, and the policy that I made the edit to, the policy that has an override, which is my communicator policy, that has the red bar. So that's how I can tell at a glance when I come to the settings screen of this device, oh, I've got some overrides going on. Just gives me a heads up. Maybe my expectation is, well, I know that I've set my policies this way, and I know I've delivered them either as a default or to this site. I'm expecting this machine to do this. How come it's not doing this? Well, let me pop in the device detail screen, come to the settings tab, because I got a remote override on there. Do I want that? I'm sorry, I've got a device override on there. Do I want that override in place? Cool. If not, I could remove the override, etc. Moving right along, I've got my applications tab. This is a list of applications that have been installed, well, that are currently installed on this device. Now I want to talk a little bit more about these inventory screens as well. These items that show up on here are updated on a varying schedule. Some of them, like some of the tabs on here are updated if the agent detects a device. Some are updated at least once a day, or if we detect a device and there's been a restart, or if there's been a restart of the agent, it'll send new data. Or some of them get updated on a periodic interval of X number of hours. So there's not a set rhyme or reason to how frequently these all update. I'm going to attempt to switch over and see if I can show you this piece of information on my screen. Give me a moment here. This is actually the agent schedule screen. This is from our documentation. This lets you know how frequently these pieces of data are getting updated and sent to the server, so they're going to show on your screen here. I'm going to attempt to see if I can paste this in the chat. So if you want to know a little bit more about how frequently do applications, how frequently do services get updated, well, this agent schedule has got a breakdown for you about how frequently we're going to see that stuff. In my applications tab here, I'm seeing all the applications that are installed on here. Then I've got that little icon over on the right-hand side, which says create a monitor. So for this particular instance, I chose the Screen Connect client software. I'm making a monitor. And this is just an example I made where I click on create monitor and I want to say, I want to monitor in case the Screen Connect client is not installed. So I just made it like this. I selected not installed. I selected the version of the software in there to equal that. And for the ticket resolution, I want to automatically resolve it, and I want the application status to be installed for that particular version. If you're using NOC services, we're going to try to have the NOC take care of that. I know for our monitors, I could tie automation tasks to that. Perhaps I might have an automation task that says, if we detect Screen Connect client is uninstalled, automatically installed it. So right from this applications tab, I'm able to take action, which is let's make a monitor. I want to detect if this is not on here, because I already talked a couple times about using my ConnectWise control functionality. I can do it right from the list view. I can do it from here, but I can't do any of it if I don't have the Screen Connect line installed on there. Let me click on the monitor because I need to know this machine didn't get on there. Let's try to get it resolved automatically. My inventory tab. I showed you the summary tab and I had stuff on there like network, and I had stuff on there like performance and tickets and memory. Well, this has got more detailed information on as well. There's more information if I scroll down on here. This is just kind of a lot of information about this machine. Hardware, memory, network, users, shares, a couple other things. So this is where I'm going to go. I want to know this particular information about this machine. Let me pop to the inventory tab on the device details tab. Device details screen is what I said, obviously. Now I just pasted in there the schedule because I wanted you guys to get a feel for the fact that there are different factors for how often data is getting updated on this screen from the agent. Well, this processes screen, which is the one we're talking about next, this one's actually kind of cool. You can see we're fetching it live. So we don't load any processes inventory on the tab. Like we don't store it there. We put the processes, we pull them live as soon as I click on this tab. I did this in my environment to make this screenshot. It didn't take very long. I didn't time it, but I feel like it was probably 30-ish seconds. And I pull the processes live, and here's what I got. I'm able to see the name, memory usage, disk usage, and once again, I've got the monitor icon there. I can make a monitor for this process, and I'm feeling like intuitively I want it to be process is not running. Let me make a monitor, and voila. Moving right along, this is just my services inventory, right? I'm able to see the service, the display name, the actual service name, whether it's started or stopped, and I'm able to see a startup type of whether or not it's manual or automatic. Once again, I've got my actions column, or I can make a monitor from here. I also have a notes screen on the next tab. This tab is just going to be notes that I make about this computer. This is something that I feel like if I was a technician working on this machine and I encountered something unusual, or I had to do something that was sort of out of our normal practices, I'm going to make notes here. If I put a check in the checkbox down there for do not display to knock, then that's going to be something that's like internal. I've got a staff of technicians. We're all working on these machines. Maybe we put notes on here for whatever reason. Maybe we make a practice around, all right, when you go to a machine, let's add some notes to it to always make it easier for the next technician. Whatever I'm using those notes for. I can check do not display to knock, and it's literally just something that only myself and my fellow technicians are going to see. If I want it to display to the knock, that's cool as well. I won't check it, and then that's information that's useful as well. So maybe that becomes a useful tool as it's being shared. Well, you guys are working my tickets in the knock, and my technicians are working. So let's share information in the notes pod. If I don't check, don't display, now everybody can see the notes, and it's a useful repository for all of us. Last but not least, for my tabs on the device detail screen is custom fields. For any of my attendees here who are coming from the automate side, think EDFs, additional fields, extra data fields. These are just fields that I can use to add extra functionality to the product. The example I put in here, I made this one just to have something to put on the screen, notify before reboot. We have established that this particular computer wants to, this end user on this device wants to be notified before reboot. So I just made that custom field in our environment, and I'm just putting it right on here so that anytime somebody else, another one of my technicians, comes to work on a device, maybe they're going to pop over to the custom fields tab, because after I've created that custom field, I blasted out a new procedure to everybody. Hey, everybody, if you're going to work on a device, make sure you go to that custom fields tab and find out if they need to be notified before a reboot. These custom fields are extremely powerful. This is where I can really build customization into my CWRMM. The example I gave here is a simple flag, but I got a few different options. Text, it's literally just going to be a free-form text field. Flag, that's what this one is. Yes, no. I can have a drop down where I can make some selections there, and I can also make a date picker. The cool thing about these custom fields is they can be leveraged for something like device groups. I can create a custom field like this one, notify before reboot. Mine's currently set to no, but I can make a device group to look for machines that have this custom field, and it's set to yes. Make that group and then maybe do something to take action. I can also interact with these custom fields with our script editor and a few other things as well. Now you're seeing I created this one on here. It's set to no. I'll click on the little pencil gimmick and I'll simply set it to yes. Oh, I was interacting with this end user when I was working the ticket. Actually, remember how we went to the settings tab and communicator was set to no? I'm like, wait a minute, I need to have communicator on. So I overrode it. So now I have communicator, and then I sent them a message, and I was working on the device, and I'm like, hey, I did some stuff. This is gonna need to be rebooted. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You cannot ever reboot my machine without letting me know in the middle of the day. That's really gonna cause a problem for me. I've got production stuff going on here. I can't have that interruption. Oh, okay. So would you like me to flag your machine to say notify before reboot always? Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I come in here, click on the pencil, edit this one. Now this device has been marked on this custom field. I'm still here on the device details screen. Now I can click on run tasks in the top left. Click on run. Once again, we had the example from my list view earlier, my device list, where I had a machine that didn't have any endpoint protection. So I selected it, clicked on run applications, web root. Well, I've got a lot of other tasks in here. These are all tasks that are put in here by ConnectWise. They're managed by ConnectWise, and they are related to a variety of different categories. Like I talked about earlier, you can see I've got a bunch of application related ones here. Look at my little scroll bar, right? I've got a whole bunch more on this page. So there's more down here, and I've got others related to maintenance, management, patching, security, etc. I even have those down at the bottom left where I can run a bash script, run a command prompt script, or PowerShell script, all right here from this run dropdown. These tasks can be run now, later, recurringly, or even on a trigger. Lots of functionality here to allow me to run tasks against this device right from this screen. Just like I had in that devices list, I've got the login button in the upper right from my device detail screen. This is going to give me access to my ConnectWise control functionality. Once again, control remote access. I'm just going to connect to your machine right now. This is perhaps where I would probably leverage that manage send message function. Hey, this is your friendly neighborhood technician. I got your ticket and I'm ready to work on your issue now. Is this a good time for me to remote in and fix the problem? If they say yes, I go login, control remote access. If they say no, however, perhaps I'm going to try to fix it using Control Backstage. Control Backstage just gives me a lot of functionality where I kind of create a session with some functionality beyond just like a command prompt that allows me to interact with the device behind the scenes without interrupting the end user. Maybe I'm able to get something fixed and take action from there just using Backstage. Or from there, if I hit login control dashboard, that literally takes me right to my ConnectWise control dashboard. I can see all my devices from there. I can manage settings in there, manage control users and roles and permissions. And I can also use Backstage and other functions from that control dashboard, including taking control of the device from there as well. Folks, that is my devices screen in ConnectWise RMM. We got the list view. Let me look at my devices list. Let me use the cool search function in the filter to try to find my device. Let's go into the device and see all these different tabs and what kind of information is in there and what kind of action can I take. Let's use my run function and this login function to perform actions right on these devices from this device details page as well. What kind of question you guys got for me?
I do have two questions that came in here, Scott A. I'm trying to chase down one of them. I haven't. Do you know of a link where they can go to set that notice before a reboot happens?
Huh. It's funny you should say that. I made that custom field. So that is not a built-in custom field. When I went to the custom fields tab of the device detail screen, I didn't have anything on there. I just made notify before reboot as something that I thought might be intuitive. I was just like, yeah, this could be useful. Let me make it. I chose flag because that's obviously just on off. So I made this custom field off the top of my head. I want to say that lives under, I can't remember what menu it lives under, but it was pretty easy just to make a custom field. I gave it a name. I chose that it was a device field and it's a flag. You can choose the default setting. After I made it, it immediately showed up on the custom fields tab of my device. So that is not one that is out of the box. I just created it.
All right, and this one's kind of jumping off of that, so I assume I actually know the answer to this one, but I'm going to let you go ahead with it. Can the custom fields enforce or protect an action? Would a notify before reboot actually override a batch reboot command that was sent by a tech reviewing patching, for example, or would it just provide a warning?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I've never delved this far into it, but it seems to me that if I'm making that custom field for my environment, so now it's one that I've made, so now it's in my environment, so it's present for all of my devices. All right, maybe then if I've got a script that is doing a reboot, perhaps I have a script that checks that logic first.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Remember, he's building custom layouts here so that you can get around anything that is not fitting your device's policies. So if you custom make the EDF, then you've got to custom make the automation that's going to be tripped by that. I'm sorry, I'm not saying custom field, not EDF.
Right.
Apologize, custom fields. So I kind of figured that's where you were going to head with that answer, but didn't want to step on any toes.
But since this is a custom field,
Right.
This will not block any other reboots. So
right.
It's not going to prevent reboots like that.
All right. Will we be able to? Well, this one I'll go ahead and answer. Will we be able to ever change the column sizes on the device's screen? Your guess is as good as mine. We work in training, so we help you use the product as is. We do understand their pain points, so product enhancements with the PM department is the only way to go for that. This recording will be made available. This will be in the university approximately 2 days afterwards. If your console looks older than Mars, you might be using legacy command consoles and not CW-RMM. So you might want to talk to your account rep about going to CW-RMM from command legacy. And then can you give one tip that you think would help, that would make every help desk tech should know that, sorry, I'm just butchering this question, buddy. Can you give one tip you think every help desk tech should know that makes their life easier, Scotty? I do believe the average airspeed velocity of a swallow would be what they need to know in their life. But I'm going to go ahead and let you take that if you've got any tips for them.
Honestly, the tip I found, the thing I found most useful in making this content and poking around the device detail screen was leveraging that search. You know, my environment, as you saw, has 11 devices in it. Not that hard to search. If you've got thousands of devices and potentially thousands of sites, that finding that device is really going to be a pain. So I would probably be inclined to say that the thing I find that I want my technicians to know is know how to use those searches. Start typing in the search box. I did it by site. Okay, cool. Start typing in the search box again because I knew it had Windows and I wanted to pick the flavor of Windows. I filtered it based on my device group, but you could type something else in there and search even further. And then from that devices list, I might be inclined to leverage that friendly name. If I put a friendly name in there, then that's probably going to make it a lot easier for me next time. I haven't tested this, but I'm thinking I might be able to even search based on that friendly name. So familiarizing yourself with search and all the functionality in there and the additional filtering. I showed you the search and then we clicked on the filter icon right next to the search box. That's how I found the machine that met my device group criteria. And my device group was one I created for has Deluge installed. So you can filter on whatever other criteria is available in the filter options, getting yourself familiar with how to quickly search and filter for your devices, maybe give them a friendly name from that devices list if you want to. I think if I'm going to work on a bunch of tickets and I'm working on a bunch of machines from that device list and I've got tons of machines, I would love it if I was able to just get more nimble with my searching and more quickly and easily find the device. Maybe after I find it, give it a friendly name because that might save me a lot of time for the next time I'm looking for it. That's something I would be inclined to do pretty often.
Okay. There was one about wanting to know a list of the Intel monitors. That's a little off topic, but I do understand that may be a question others might have. If you want to email me, at rdebach@connectwise.com. I can try to chase down that answer for you, but I don't have that off the top of my head, and it's a little out of context for today's lesson.
You certainly could look in our documentation for a list of Intellimon monitors. I know there are multiple levels of ConnectWise RMM. It depends if you have like the core or essentials or the next tier up or the next tier up. I know which license level of ConnectWise RMM you have determines which Intellimon monitors you have. That's something that we've worked a lot with PM, trying to iron out that list. And then once we get that sorted out, that's something that we would be able to share in our documentation. I don't know if we've ever finalized that. And if we did finalize it, I don't know if it's been published to our documentation yet, but that's the first place I would look. Look at our documentation for a list of Intellimon monitors.
All right, let's get to some good stuff here. First of all, when they asked for a recording, the reason they wanted to know if this was recorded, Scotty, this is the best CW RMM video they have seen to date, my man. Look at that. Woo, killing it, just knocking it out of the park.
I
usually don't enter
CW RMM webinar I've ever done.
Well, there you go. It may even be the only one.
Boom.
Boom. We got more coming though, man, more coming. And I usually don't entertain this, but we'll go ahead and entertain this once. We've got a little time. What is the difference between RMM and Automate? Well, RMM is more of a we do it for you. A lot of things are pre-built in there. There's a lot less development arm to it. Automate, as I like to explain to partners, is really an RMM development platform. There are things baked into it, thanks to Ignite, our man Vernon in a product department, but it really is more of a, here's all these tools, do it yourself, go have fun, right? RMM is in the ACO platform. It's going to integrate with more feature sets, and you'll be able to micro feature those. Whereas our other bigger products are, you get everything or nothing, right? So say you want Automate, but you only wanted a scripting portion of it. Well, in RMM, you can have scripting added to it, automation added to it, monitoring. You can add all these pieces as well as the knock. So that is the biggest difference between them. In the RMM, it's going to be more of a do it for you. And in an Automate, it's going to be a lot of do it yourself. So it really depends on your mindset and what kind of solution you're going to need for your clients. You may even have to use both. You never know.
I would certainly feel like the biggest two differences in my eyes, well, certainly three. I agree 100% Debach that RMM is more done for you because it stems from the same space as Command, and we have knock services.
Yeah,
that's a huge difference between RMM and Automate. RMM gives you the availability for knock services, so they're going to be your first line. They're going to be able to handle things that pop up in the middle of the night, and they might be able to even fix stuff for you automatically before any of your technicians are aware of it, because it happened overnight, but knock caught it and it was remediated and nobody on your end even had to get involved. So that's a huge difference. And I would say the biggest third difference would be the interface. For Automate, you still really need to have the Control Center application installed. You can use the web functionality, but the web functionality is still not fully fleshed out. Now I have to give our Automate product team kudos, as they have continued to push with every single release to add much more functionality to the web interface, and there is a lot more functionality in there now. But as Debach mentioned, RMM lives in the ASIO platform, so it is 100% only in the web interface. I don't end up needing to have the application installed anywhere. I do it all right from the ASIO platform, which is web.
And with that said, we thank you for joining us today. That is all the questions we have for you, Scotty. Everybody seems to enjoy it. Oh, and one more came in now that you started talking about the knock here. Do you have any upcoming webinar on how to create templates or discussing the access level for knock? Well, thank you for bringing that feedback to us. Now we know something we can work on, or something a partner is interested in. We can certainly look into that. We are looking into things for the expert service side of things, which includes knock, help desk, basically all of the assist product lines in there. So we will be looking to, I'm not sure exactly if it'll be solely that, but we'll be looking to provide that information in a webinar in the future. All righty. That, I believe, is it, and we can go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Scotty. It's been a
Thanks,
blast.
everybody. Thanks you, Debug. Everybody, please make sure you join us for all of our future ConnectWise RMM content. Look forward to joining you on this journey as we learn about our new product, add more and more functionality to it, and get everybody switched over and using this great new stuff. Look forward to